Hey, what's going on, my friends? How are you? Thank you so much for coming by Surviving New England. I haven't put a video out in a while on this channel, but I had other things going on, but it is what it is. I'm here now, thankfully, right? Um, this channel, I have something planned for a bunch of videos coming up. Tips, survival tips that I am not a professional. Let's get that right out of the way. I am a professional hiker, and I spend a lot of time in the woods. And so before I began my exploration kind of a few years back, I really got into survival and things that you can do to improve your situation if you ever find yourself in a pinch where you need help and there's no one around to give it to you. The most important thing really is to be prepared with the gear that you have on your back when you go into the woods. There's a bunch of reasons why you would end up in a situation where you find yourself needing to survive, so to speak, right? A plane crash or, a boating accident, and then you wash up on shore of an island, or you're just a complete dumbass and you went into the woods and got yourself lost and you have no gear at all. This little tutorial, or I don't even know what to call it, but it's a list of things that you should bring out with you, specifically hiking in the woods. And that's what this channel is, Surviving New England. It's just tips and tricks from my experiences and from things I've read and from other people's bad experiences and what they've learned from it. The most important thing right off the bat is to be prepared before your boots ever hit the trail. Carry with you things that you may not need, right? But you wish you had had in an emergency, right? I've said all the time, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that rings true, especially in a survival situation. If you have on you the things that you may or may not need, that makes your hike that much more fun and enjoyable because you know if something happens, you're prepared. So I've got a list of some things that should be taken with you out into the woods. It doesn't need to be a massive backpack. I have an issue with backpacks myself. The issue is I can't stop buying them. But a good, decent backpack right off the bat is something that you're going to want to invest in. You don't need to spend hundreds. You can get a really nice backpack for $50, $60, $70 and just make sure the things that you need will fit into it. It's pretty important that you can fit what you need into the bag. So aside from the bag, number one, you should have with you a small tent would be great, or a shelter. Something that if you needed it, if you got stuck out in a freak rainstorm or a snowstorm, you've got a little bit of a shelter, whatever it may be, a top or whatever. That's number two, a top, a small ground cloth or a top, something you can roll up nice and neat and stick it in your backpack. Some type of blanket or a sleeping bag. And this is depends on the region and the time of year that you're going to go hiking. Obviously, you probably won't need a blanket if you're in the middle of the summertime in a region of the country where it's really hot. But depending on the season, you're going to want to bring something to keep you warm. Water filter. Very, very important, guys. The water filter. I did a video on this channel probably last year at some time about a water filter that I carry with me everywhere I hike. I always have a water filter because you can go without food, guys, for weeks, but water, 3-4 days, you are really in serious trouble. Matches or a ferro rod or a lighter, something to light a fire with. I also have an obsession with that myself. I carry multiple ways to light a fire, and it's a comfort knowing you've got it just in case. Even if you don't need it, you have it on you, a way to light a fire, even if it's for signaling or basically to keep you warm, cook food, boil water. Number 6 is food. Of course, you want to bring food with you. A lot of hikers, I believe, make the mistake that they're only going out for a day hike and they figure, well, I'll bring a granola bar and there you have it. I'll be back in a few hours. And that's when something happens to you and you're thinking, if I had only had a couple days of food that would really help with your psyche and your mental state, that at least your stomach's not grumbling as you're trying to find your way out of the situation you've gotten yourself into. A can opener would be nice. Now, I personally don't carry a can opener, but I do carry a small, it's a military can opener, very small. It fits right on a keychain. I want to call it a P32, but I'm not positive, and I'm sure in the comments below somebody's going to inform me what that's called, and I want to say it's a P32, but I could be wrong. Just a small can opener. It's a pain in the neck to open a can without a can opener. I've done it. It's tough with a knife. You need a good knife, and you got to be really careful, or then you'll end up with a whole other situation where you stab yourself, and then that's no fun. You don't even want to eat the raviolis because you're trying to stop the bleeding. A stove with propane, gas, you need fuel. A stove is great to have again. Even on a day hike, if you're out on a long hike and you find yourself you're not enjoying it as much, you've got yourself some food and a stove, you could stop, take a little break, cook up something, even if it's a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, chicken broth, soup, anything like that, which also you want to have a container to cook it in. I carry the Stanley containers that where you can boil water, or just have a metal container that way you can set it right in the fire and heat up whatever it is you want to eat. And so food is crucial to bring with you, and the stove, having a stove to cook it, that's kind of key. Duct tape. Now I do this buried somewhere deep in probably every one of these bags is a lighter wrapped in duct tape. I'll take just a length. I'll take a 6-foot length of duct tape, big fat duct tape. I'll wrap the lighter a bunch of times. Then you never know, that could come in so handy. You can also split the duct tape up into smaller strips. You just never know when it's nice to have it. I personally, in the years I've been hiking, have never needed duct tape, but I've got it just in case. Fishing line with hooks. That's in case you really are out there and you're in really serious trouble and you're stuck out there. And fishing line with hooks would be great because you could dig up worms, make yourself your own fishing pole. You can even set a line on a branch, throw the hook with the worm on it and walk away and go and do whatever you got to do and come back. And it's something where it can be working for you even while you're not standing there. Signal mirror or a whistle. That's key to signal somebody, a plane flying over, or somebody across a ridge or on another mountain or something like that, where you can signal. Also, with the mirror, you can start a fire with it. Again, the fire is so important, guys. I can't even stress it enough. But it'd be great, a signal mirror or a whistle. Headlamp and a flashlight. Not much needed to explain why you'd want to have a headlamp or a flashlight. That's pretty self-explanatory. Compass, always a compass. I, from time to time, will forget to, because I'll grab a bag and pack it up, and I'll get out there and say, oh man, my compass is in my other bag. But I did recently purchase a walking stick behind me here that has a compass in the top of the walking stick. I love it. It's a little small. I don't trust really small keychain compasses. I don't trust them, but it's better than not having one at all. And having two is better than one because you can compare the two to make sure that you're getting a correct reading. First aid kit, I can't stress enough. I would say first aid kit, fire, and water are right up there on the top of the list for a good, solid first aid kit, not a cheesy one from the supermarket or from a drugstore, a little thing. I mean, you can go ahead and get a simple little first aid kit from a store, but improve on it, build on it, add things that are missing out of it. Some of these little smaller kits, they've got little Band-Aids and just, it's not too often I'll get a little tiny cut and look for a little tiny Band-Aid and say, thank God I got the little Band-Aid. You want to really have a good kit. Peace of mind as well, having a good kit like that. And lastly, but not least on this list, is a knife, a fixed blade knife. Always carry a nice knife with you. I carry multiple. I carry a Leatherman. I carry one on the outside of my pack. I carry another one on the inside of my pack. It's always good to have a cutting tool It's just the possibilities are endless. What you can do with a good solid knife when you're in a survival situation. So there you have it. A nice little simple, couple of simple tips for you. Get a nice bag, load it up with stuff that you may need in an emergency, and even if you never need it, you got it. Don't tell anybody. And just be safe. Be safe. Let people know where you're going. Do the right thing. I do appreciate you guys clicking, and I'll definitely see you on the next one.